Okay, today is July 20th, Wednesday. Um, I had my evaluations on Monday, and I meant to do an update after on my way home, but I didn't bring a charger cord, and my phone was dead by probably 5 p.m. or something like that. But yeah, I did the whole day of it's basically I get there, I do labs, so I get blood right away and then do an EKG. And that's just that's when they put all the stickers all over you to measure your heart rate, I guess. I'm not really quite sure. But that was the first part of the day. Well, the first hour, I guess. Um, And then the GFR study, that's what takes the longest because it's GFR test is a blood test that I wrote this down, blood test that measures how much blood your kidneys filter each minute. So when you get in there, you give blood. So I gave blood for labs. It was funny because I would give blood in this arm and then I went to the GFR and give blood in the other arm. And then they inject something into you, like some, I don't know what it is. They inject stuff into you, and then you wait like 40 minutes, and that's when I did that video at the end of the last one where I was like, oh, I'm in the GFR test or whatever. That's when I was sitting waiting for the second time that you give blood. So that first one is like you give blood, they put stuff in you, then you give blood 40 minutes later. And then, so you can't eat anything, or you can drink some water, but you can't eat anything or anything like that. And after the second one, you have to wait like 2 hours. So I went down to another floor. It was another building in another floor and did my chest x-ray. And so I did that. And that was pretty quick. So then I went back up to where the GFR test was. And yeah, I was up there like 11 o'clock. And then they call you in to do another. Then you give more blood after the 2.5 hours is up. So it's a series of giving blood 3 times on top of the labs that I did. So that's 4 times of giving blood right there. Then I was able to go to lunch, and then I went down to lunch and I ate like an Italian beef. There's like a bunch of like places to eat on the second floor, and I was gonna get something healthier, but obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, there was a really long line for all the healthy places. So I had to go into like this pizza place and get an Italian beef. And the only reason I bring that up is because after my lunch, I had to go up to it's like a medical, psychosocial, donor advocate evaluation. So you get in there, and when I was going up there, I was in the wrong building. I went up to the right floor, but I was in the wrong building, and I realized that when I got to the floor, and I was like, oh crap. So I went back on the elevator, went over to the other building, and went up to the right place. So I'm like running around, and then I get in there, and I get called in there fairly quickly, and the first thing they do is, okay, sit down here and take your heart rate and your blood pressure rate. And I was like, oh shit, because I could feel like my heart rate was kind of like up. But so they took my blood pressure, and it was high, and I looked at it, I was like, and it wasn't super high, but it was high. So then you wait in the room, and then you talk to one nephrologist comes in, he talks to you and asks you all these questions about your lifestyle and your health lifestyle, like, you drink, you smoke, and just so you guys know, I used to smoke. Anybody that knew me knows I smoked cigarettes, but I haven't smoked a cigarette since the day Piper went into the hospital, because once we found out that kidney transplant was on the table, I never smoked a cigarette again. So I haven't smoked since January of this year. I don't miss it. It's pretty bad habit, you know. When you're healthy, you're just like, yeah, whatever. I like this, so you do it, you know. But on the other coin, it's like you don't want your family to go through, um, like what we were going through. You don't want to see your family, you know, going through some kind of crap. And then like I just had mental pictures in my head of me later in life, like having some kind of lung issue, and it's something that I could have prevented by just not smoking. So I had my fill of smoking cigarettes in my life, and I'm done with it, and I'm fine with that. I don't even miss it. It's once you stop doing it, you're kind of look at. I would never like be an advocate and be like, you should stop smoking. It's like, because I don't, you know, do whatever you want. You know, that's up to you. I'm not somebody to tell you what to do, but I don't. I look at it different. I look at it like I used to like want one, and I guess like when the only time that the craving comes out is if you're in a social setting with a bunch of people smoking and like you're drinking. That's the only time that it's like, oh, that's when it, you know, it seems like it's a good thing. But you know, when you get over that, it's all good. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm going off on tangents and stuff. So I was up in there, and so I'm doing all those questions with the nephrologist, the first nephrologist, and that went well, you know, talking with him. And then another nephrologist comes in. She's a surgeon, and I was talking with her. And so she said, we were talking about the blood pressure, and she said, well, the blood pressure is a little high, so I may have to prescribe you with a 24-hour blood pressure cuff, which Piper had to do that. Basically, it's a cuff that stays on your arm, and you have like a purse that you carry around with if you're moving around, because the other thing is like somewhat big. So you just carry that around with you. And so I knew what that was, and I'm like, yeah, I understand, because it was high. And then I had said to her, I was like, yeah, I knew it was going to be high, because when I was in the wrong building and running up and blah blah blah. She's like, yeah, I understand that. And it's like, so we'll just take it manually, you know, now that you've been here and you've just been chilling. So she took manual blood pressure, and it was normal. So she's like, I'm not going to prescribe the 24-hour thing. And I thanked her for that, because it's just kind of inconvenient. But where was I? So I had asked her, I was like, so how does it look thus far? You know, she's like, I don't see any red flags whatsoever. Everything looks good right now. And sorry, we're dog sitting. This is Elliot. We're dog sitting Elliot. Elliot's my my mom's neighbor's dog. But hey, give me that. And he's a good boy. So that was a good sign that I'm like, all right, this is cool. Like, I'm gonna be the donor. And then I remember like, and I had talked with two nephrologists. Then I talked to a counselor on the phone. She goes through all legal stuff, and you know, telling me about, for example, like, you might want to do your life insurance policy now because it'll be more after donor. You know, just talking about stuff like that. How much money do you make because you're going to be bedridden for a little bit? Who takes care of you? Because now there's going to be stress on Liz because there's two people that are like bedridden. And, you know, who else do you have to come and help? And, you know, just going over things like that. She had said, like, I'll put your name into some like a financial help for, since you can't work. So that's cool. But and then I talked to the donor advocate, and she's the one that speaks for me at next Tuesday. Everybody under the sun with the donor sits at a table and they talk about if I'm good to donate. So next Tuesday is when I think we'll either officially know I can donate or more tests. They might need to do more tests. But as far as I was told, everything looks good. There's no red flags whatsoever. I went up for the CT scan, and the one counselor had said, if you go up for the CT scan, chances are really good that you'll be the donor, because they won't, I guess there's like a film or something that's in high demand that they won't waste on somebody if they don't need to do the test. So I did the CT test, and that's another IV in your arm. So I think I was poked total of 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 times for blood, and I'm not bitching about that. Whatever. Piper's been poked a million times, so I don't really care about that. It's no big deal. But that was really wild. That's the thing where you lay on the bed and you go inside like the donut. But the weird thing is, like, so they're doing specifically abdomen and pelvis. So you go into the donut, it does its spinning things. You have to hold your breath while it takes the test. And then the second time, they do 2 times. Then you have your arms over your head, and I got an IV in my arm. And then they come in and they inject me with some, I don't know what it is, some kind of dye, they said. They inject me with that. And then you go in for the second thing, and this automated voice says, hold your breath. And once I held my breath, I just, this wave of warmth, like, just went through my whole body. It felt super wild. It wasn't like, it was just like being like having a wave of weird drugs just flowed through you. It was, and it only lasts like a couple minutes, but it's just like really, at first I'm like, oh, this, they tell you, but you're not really, they don't really do a good description of what it really feels like. But that concluded my day doing the CT scan, and I'm super happy. I'm super happy that there's nothing that's stopping me from being a donor at the moment. It's not official, but chances are really good. I'm so glad that it doesn't have to go past the first one, the first test, which is me. I'm just so glad it didn't have to go beyond, because then this is going to make it be as quickly as it possibly can be. We still have to talk with the rheumatologist about if Piper is even ready, because she's still on prednisone. Her last Salumedrol IV steroid injection is next Monday, the 25th. So hope that that's her last one. And when we speak with Dr. Klein, the rheumatologist, on August 4th, she's the lupus doctor, so she'll be the one that's like, okay, we need to weed her off of all the prednisone before the surgery, or I don't know what she says goes. And yeah, super happy guys. This is really good. I guess I should I kind of feel like I should leave it there, but really quick, Piper's home dialysis is getting better. I think last night was the first night Liz has been monitoring her every night since Friday. I had to work music festival this weekend. So Liz was the one setting her up, and Liz does a great job of monitoring her. She sets an alarm for her, like the certain times when it pulls really hard. She'll go in there and she'll bypass it if she has to. And since we started this, and maybe I'll put it on the screen, this our little graph, but since we started this, her blood pressure has systematically gone down, which means it is removing fluid. But the thing that's contradictory to that is that her weight is slowly going up. Like, when I say up, by like points of a kilogram, you know what I mean? So yeah, her weight is like going up, but her blood pressure is going down. But they've at least adjusted her initial drain. Well, she has an initial drain that hurts, and it still does, but I guess she's getting used to it. And I can just imagine, like, it's got to get calloused up a little bit in there, I'm guessing. I don't know. Like, where, like your hands, like you work a lot and your hands get hard, but totally different inside and outside. I don't know. But yeah, so the PD is going good, going better. So as long as that's trending in the right way, and she's a little bit more free to do stuff now. That's why I didn't do a video yesterday. Since I was working that fest on the weekend, our basement flooded on Saturday, and there was like a river of sand coming from a drain on the outside coming into the inside. So Piper wanted to go to an old school arcade. It's called Galloping Ghost in Brookfield. We've been there before, and it's just like you pay a flat fee, and then they have all these really old 80s, 70s, 80s arcade games in there. But I had to clean up the basement real quick, as fast as I could, and then we went out there. So I just didn't have any time to do it yesterday, so I apologize, but everything's looking really good. Despite the shit sandwich that we are being served, we're starting to season it up to be stomachable. But yeah, one last thing, and I know this is getting long, but having Elliot, hi, he's such a cutie boy. Having him here kind of reminded me of when when this first came up, when Piper was diagnosed with lupus, and there's no lupus in my family, Liz's family, and it's like, where does this come from, And they say, like, lupus can live dormant in people, like, forever. Like, a lot of times, if you have lupus in you, it doesn't come out till you're older. And so we're like, well, why the hell did this happen to Piper? And one of the things, and there's no scientific proof or anything like this, but it's the only thing that we can think of, is about a year and a couple weeks ago, our dog Thunder died. And it happened really fast. He died 3 or 4 days after his 5th birthday. He was only 5 years old. It was terrible. It happened really fast. He died here at home. He died while the girls were sleeping, and Thunder was a big boy. He was over 100 pounds, so I was with him when he died, and it was pretty terrible. I don't even want to really think about it too much, but they say that lupus can be kind of brought to the surface through a death in the family, and Thunder's death was hard on all of us, and on Piper too. You know, like that's the first major loss that she's had in her life. You know, so I just thought I would share that because it was something that I had forgotten, and sorry to leave it on like a sour note, but I thought it's something that jumped in my head, having this little guy here, and it's nice having him here. He's such a good boy. You're a good boy. Yeah, and you're a little cutie pie too. Yeah, it's just Elliot. So it's nice to have him here for a day. But I'm gonna leave you guys here. Sorry so long, but try to do a one soon that's more in depth of the home dialysis. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. So love you guys. Bye.